Okay, I'm going to give you some tips on how to mount and start on a wingboard. The first thing you want to do is get this wing right side up before you mount the board. So you want to go down near the wingtip and use the wind to help you flip it. Then you want to take a moment and look at your leashes so that you don't have tangles. Now, if you look at what's going on right here, you can see that if I were to climb on the board, I would have the leash tangled. So with with the short leash right here on my wrist, all I do is pick the wing up over my head. This leash is no longer an issue. Now I deal with this one. I deal with it by just spinning in the water, flying the wing over my head, and now this is untangled and coming off my body from the correct side. Now I'm free to climb up on the board, and if the leash catches my foot, just flick it like this. I'm going to lean on this for support. This is important to use this for support, particularly when you're on a small wing board. Then you want to, while using this for support, analyze how the board is floating in the water. Are you centered on it? Is the nose up in the air? Is the tail sinking? You want to get the board floating fairly uniform so that it doesn't tip and buck you off when you take your weight off this wing and try to pick it up, because you're going to want to do all this stuff fairly quickly. If you're slow to do all this, the board is going to drift downwind, and then when you pick the wing up, it'll be harder. The board will be less stable, but you can still do it, because when you pick the wing up and get it in your hand, the board will turn sideways to the wind and come around, and then you'll start sailing sideways to the wind on your knees. Now, the next part is particularly important in lighter wind. You're going to need, you won't be able to move that front foot up if you're sitting down like this. You need to rise up a little bit so you can get this foot up. And if you look at where my front foot is now, if I were to try to stand, the board is going to tip and I'm going to fall off that way because my foot's not in the center. And if I put this front foot out too far, then I'm weak and I can't do a press up with this leg. So it needs to be bent less than 90 degrees, and you want your foot over the center, so when you press hard with that front foot, you don't fall off. And you can test it by pressing a little bit and see if the board tips or if it stays stable. And then if the wind is really light, I'm going to pump this twice, even if there's really no pressure in it, because it gives me something, a little something. The little pops give me something to brace against when I try to squeeze and stand up. And when the wind dies, all this is really important. Now that I'm on my feet and there's no wind, if I'm centered on the board's volume, it's no problem for me to just slowly ride along, try to inch my way upwind, wait for a gust, and when I get one, bounce up and down and get the thing pumping, and I'm airborne. Younger guys can often put their feet any place on a board and with their cat-like reactions can save it. The older you are, the more you got to pay attention to all the little details or you're going to fail.